I've grown up all autistic schizo fuckwits I feel absolutely nothing for. It's me. The man who stands on the rock. You know what he does when he stands on that rock? He takes a sweet piss. I don't know how my service is, if you can even hear me. I spent the whole day at a Christian event where just a bunch of nice people hung out at it. The pastor and his wife go to camp, and when they go to the camp for their camp thing, they invite everybody. So like 20 people showed up at this campsite deep in rural Vermont, and I just talked about my life, and they listened, and they cared, and they had good advice, and everybody agrees that Catholicism is satanic and they don't follow the Bible. Nobody knows why they even consider themselves close to Christian. They don't even believe that Christ is the supreme. They literally do idol worship with Mary. Mary had 4 kids. She was not a virgin. But it is what it is. I'm just seeing if the popos and the people have done anything weird around the place. And I want to show you I got lattice, shit ton of lattice, and I got some deck posts, some finishing for siding. So I have the potential, and that's for a floor. Those are floor joists, I think. And I got some roofing stuff. I got the potential to make some really cool shit out here. Speaking of shit out here, I shoveled mine. Anyway, the only thing that they weren't really interested in was aliens. Everything else, they were very interested in what I had to say. And I had a best friend in college that was light-skinned. His name was Zay, and we were roommates. And there was a guy who looked just like him, also light-skinned. And then casually, his name's Isaiah. And my friend's name was Isaiah. And I was like, oh shit. It's a simulation. The pastor was really interested. And that was really cool. He left 5 hours. I just went off about the Casey story. And every time I said something bad, he went, oh. Every time I said, yeah, they ripped me out of the tent, maced me, and dragged me through broken glass, tried to break my wrist, he went, oh. And I said, yeah, they used to lock me in a room the size of a broom closet, and they only fed me bread and lettuce, and he'd go, oh. You know, like, yeah, my dad swung me around by my leg and then tried to kill me. And then he broke his hip and was having a heart attack and was still playing chicken with me, trying to hit me on the road. He went, oh. And I was like, yeah. And then they took me to DCF, and I slept around a bunch of crying kids all day. And he went, oh. But he listened the whole way through. And he said, yeah, since I got back and there was something really weird about the camper, my service don't really work too well. And but I was saying, for no reason, I have 4 bars of service supposedly, was that he's the first person that's ever sat down and listened to me without stopping me or treating me like crap, ever. He's the only human being on earth that isn't on a phone screen that listened to the Casey story the whole way through. So that was really cool. Then I needed horses that you use for carpentry. I needed a framing nail gun and access to carpenters and stuff. As I'm driving back from work, I passed 2 horses. I stop. The guy, I just knock on the door, ask if I could buy the horses off him. They said that my husband will be back soon. So I wait there. It's a great view. He comes back. Everybody's really happy about the shirt that says Jesus has my back. They all think it's really cool. Tells me the first thing they ask is like, "Are you native?" And they're like, "Yeah." And they're like, "You're Iroquois?" I was like, "Yeah, I think so." And they're like, "I can tell." All the they were all native Iroquois, and they could tell just by. And I was like, "Yeah, I was told in New York." He invites me to. We talked for like 2 hours that night, and then today they invite me to go to this church event. At the church event, I'm just given a framing nail gun and the air compressor that I need, and the horses. So I now have a framing nail gun and a compressor. I just have to go pick it up. One is like 45 minutes this way, one is 45 minutes that way. So that's pretty fucking sweet, right? And finally, a church that will admit that Catholics are fucking weird. Catholics believe that when you die, you get like land up in the spiritual world. And if people on earth send you their life force energy, it does something to you up there. You get more power. And I'm like, that's Satanism. That's Satanism. Through and through, that is Satanism. With the kings of hell and the owning like space and then gaining influence on this realm. That's Satanism. Catholicism is Satanism. The Bible. How could she have been a virgin if only one of them was immaculate conception or whatever you call it? But the Catholics believe that even though Mary had 4 kids, she was somehow a virgin. The Virgin Mary. Okay, she lived a sinless life because I guess she married Joseph virgin. So that's the stuff that they wanted to make very clear to me is that like yeah, Catholics are weird. They also casually are just mentioning they don't know my story, they don't know anything, and they casually mention, yeah, they were just having a private conversation that I overheard about that they were just talking about how creepy the Knights of Columbus are, and they don't know what they that they were just telling stories back and forth about weird shit that the Knights of Columbus have been doing for a long time. So then later when I talk about it, because yeah, you got to bring up the Knights of Columbus when you bring up the Casey story, because Casey's and Knights of Columbus is KFC, and they are they're very prominent in the Casey story, pretty often, and it's just some shit I don't understand. Why do you believe that souls get stuck in purgatory and your prayers influence them in a way that supersedes God's will? You literally believe that God has placed them in a punishment chamber, and even though God has ordained that that person has to go through a process, why do you believe that your will can supersede God's will, help the soul? And it's not Satanism, but it's spiritual sacrifice for your own agenda. Well, hierarchical deals with a hierarchy in spirit, and I just don't know enough about it. Right where I'm at right now, it seems that it really parallels Satanism, because Satanism is spirituality, is transactional, harvestable, moldable, controllable to your will. You just have to work against the current system made by a creator. That's Satanism, is that you can blend everything to your will, but there is an imposing system that wants to stop that. And if you can figure out the rules of it and use your loopholes, you can maneuver through the river. When the river of God is constantly streaming, you can build banks to channel the river to your will. The Federal Reserve, it seems Catholicism, it's Satanism. Anyway, You spelled it wrong. Look what happened to my vape, bro. When I hit the vape now. I still have 6% left. And it just hits until it dies. Then it stops working. Oh, I got diarrhea milk. Should I FOIA request leading up to there's a bit of lag? How bad is the lag? If I don't move, am I coming in clearly? I fell in love with someone's mom. You didn't like that she was blonde, and that hurt. It's all love from here. I haven't checked it on Haley's content. I remember she had some. I haven't watched in a while. I checked once, I think. I forgot. Am I coming in clearly though, or is it really bad? Yeah. Huh? I had a soda, man. What up? Am I coming in clear or am I lagging? Am I lagging or am I coming in clearly? Am I lagging or am I coming in clearly? All messages. The chat disappears. Now it's back. Can you let me know if I'm coming in clearly? For fuck's sake. Please, I need this. I need this. I need to know if you can hear me. Okay. So I can say absolutely nothing. I was talking about that Catholicism is no real straying away from the same deviation from the Bible in a few specific things makes it parallel Satanism. I'm not saying it's exactly Satanism, but I'm saying the idea of there being real estate in the spirit. That's what I'm not understanding right now. Like, where did the idea that I can pray to my dead brother for a bike and then I get a bike and that's evidence that my brother is a saint? If I pray to Robin Williams, can I please get a Suron e-bike? And then I get a Suron e-bike. I can submit that as evidence that Robin Williams is a saint. And then he gets saint status. They build a church, the Church of Saint Robin Williams, where you pray to Robin Williams. Doesn't that seem like Satanism, but with some nice branding on it? It doesn't seem Christian to me. It doesn't seem biblical. But also, Baptists will vehemently tell you that there was a bush that was on fire that spoke to Moses in the desert. Okay. Moses was able to literally split the ocean apart with a staff. Whoosh, and the ocean he water bended the ocean. And the only way, and you're like, how did he know how to do that? It just says God told him that. God told him in his head. God told Moses, split the Red Sea, or whatever, split the sea, and then he does. And to me, I'm like, and I asked the pastor, and he was like, yeah. So I was like, who wrote that? Does Moses have any testimony? And he was like, yeah, Moses wrote the first 5 books. He wrote Genesis to Deuteronomy. Okay. So when I read the Bible a lot, there's some passages that it makes more sense to me if you read it in the voice of a Southern preacher. So when you're reading that part of the Bible that says God told Moses, God said unto Moses, go out there and split the Red Sea. And then he did. But when you're like, that's written by somebody that is preaching about what happened. So when you say, and then God said unto Moses, split the Red Sea, and then you know, I think that's what that means. It's somebody, it's not a first hand testimony of that instance. There's some stuff in the Bible that's like that, where it's not first hand testimony. I know that I was given, they just had these handy. The Gospel of Jesus Christ according to John and Romans. They said that Romans is the heartbeat of the Bible. Romans is Paul. Paul is writing a letter about Jesus, and Paul was like beaten and stoned, and he had a terrible stuff happen that gave, like, he lost vision in his eyes from probably like several brain injuries and a bunch of shit that happened to him. So Paul had servants that were writing for him. He was having somebody write. So in Romans, whereas you see that he signs his name, and then there's like another man also signs his name. And the other guy's like, "Can I sign my name too?" And then Paul's like, "Sure." So then he signs his name as the scribe. But I want to and taught, and then he saw the miracles, and he went through life with Jesus, and then saw Jesus die, saw him resurrected for 40 days, going around telling people, "Look, they tried this, getting this guy," and the guy was like, "Yeah, I mean, they did beat the shit out of him, spear him, torture him, rip out his hair and skin. He was like flayed, did the horrible shit. Then they strung him up on the cross and laughed at him, and then he died. And then I saw him put him in the tomb, and then he just walked out and was like, ha, you thought, bitch, I'm here." And then he walked around for 40 days being like, they fucking tried, and I guess they never tried again. I don't know about all that. What if I tried to crucify a guy and he showed up and was like, "I'm fine," I would have crucified him 10 times. If I'm a guy that crucifies people and the guy keeps coming back to life, he's not just getting off out of jail free card. You're good, walk around. As soon as I find out he's good and he's telling all these people, "Look what happened. That's a crossbow bolt through the face. Come back again, bitch." I don't know why they just left him to walk around and show people how I lived. And then the big question I had at the end was like, to the pastor, I said, "Did Jesus literally fly?" It was like his last sign that of like the cool shit that he can do is that he fucking just floated up into the clouds and disappeared. And he was like, he didn't really know what to say. And I'm like, that sounds like a UFO to me. That sounds like Jesus went out into the wilderness and met the aliens that showed themselves to me. And then he was like, "For my last trick, And then he fucking took off. I don't know for sure though. He could have. They're saying that he literally flew away. Immaculate conception, defied death, flew away. He fucking flew away, guys. Jesus flew away. And maybe he got taken up into a UFO. Maybe he learned from Guru Patik in the Air Temple Island how to master airbending and achieve flight. But with Paul can't see. He's got like brain damage. He's fucked up. He's got servants. I don't know how he got servants. Somehow he got some money and he got servants. He's in. They call it the city of sin. It was like it's like basically back in the day version of Las Vegas, where it's just like prostitution and drugs and gambling. It's just a bad place. He's chilling out there. Maybe that's why his money went a lot longer way out there. What the hell was he doing there? I don't know. But imagine that you can't see and you're spiritual. He literally, the love he had for his friend was there. So imagine like you can't see and you're basically blind and you're brain damaged and you're having your servants write a letter for you. And you go, when he says I'm a bond servant of Jesus Christ, he goes, I am a slave to my dead friend. There's a lot of bittersweet love in that. That after everything he went through, it's like a sentimental thing. That he's just sharing a story about his dead friend as he's fucked up, and he wants people to know what happened. Like imagine your friend that died and the love that you have for him, but you're blind, so you're literally seeing it spiritually. That's what kind of sold it to me. I thought that was really cool. Yeah, where it says Paul, a servant of Jesus Christ, called to be a apostle, separated unto the gospel of God, concerning his Son Jesus Christ our Lord, which is made seed of David according to the flesh. I'm not sure what that means. To be declared the Son of God, by whom we have received grace and apostleship. So he starts off by signing his name. Because that which may be known of God is manifest in them. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that we are without excuse. That's cool. That's cool. He's saying that even though you guys don't talk about God, you're all pretty aware that he's there. You all know it's happening. You just don't talk about it. Gave me like a pamphlet with John and Romans from King James. James. I don't like the fact that it was not translated faithfully. King James was not translated faithfully. Because if it was translated faithfully, it would say a bond servant of Jesus Christ, which means a slave. A servant of Jesus Christ is like the wealthy when they hire the help. Like I'm a landscaper, or I did landscaping once, and they want me to come back. So I was 2 days ago. I was the help at a wealthy estate. I was a servant of the wealthy there. If I was a bond servant of the wealthy, I would be contractually obligated in a pseudo slavery to serve my master. So Paul was actually saying that he's a slave of Jesus Christ. But in King James, they took out the slavery part and say, I'm a servant of Jesus. That's not translated faithfully. So I don't really trust all this. I don't reading this. I don't think I'd have to go back further. But it's basically the first passage is just talking about and then he backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents. He's calling people out. So he's in like Las Vegas, and he's like writing a letter to Las Vegas and saying that you all know God's real and you do all these terrible things and it's inexcusable and you will be judged. He's warning them. So the first two chapters of Romans are Paul calling them out for what they do and then telling them what's going to happen to them. That goes pretty hard, but nowadays that's just like every weird old man on Facebook has a his own Romans. He's called you a bitch in his last life. Be busy. I bet you don't remember a single thing that I said other than you need to free yourself. When I said my foot slippeth, thy mercy, O Lord, held me up. 19 in the multitude of my thoughts. Within me thy comfort delight my soul. We're talking about the Bible, and we're talking about how Catholicism deviates from the Bible in the same way that Satanism does. And a lot of Catholicism seems to be Satanist stuff, but with the deceitful branding of it being Christ based. And that sort of answers my question about why Catholics treat me a certain way and why there seems to be this illusionary, deceitful thing with what they do, and their actions don't match their words. And I couldn't figure out why until I got to Divine Mercy, and I realized that Divine Mercy is the same thing as the plot to Hereditary and the Freemasons, and why they believe that there is real estate and power and authority in the spirit realm, that you can send energy to supersede the will of God to influence souls in purgatory. That's if that were true, then you'd have to believe that Satanism is true, that you can actually send energy to demonic entities and that has actual merit and influence on this realm. And it's not biblical. But people that do read like pastors that read the whole thing, they tell me there's no purgatory. I know natives believe in purgatory. Druids believe in purgatory. Before Jesus, messages about in depth about what they know as a civilization about death, and they do say that there is purgatory. I'm not totally sure until they release the Vatican files. I don't know what evidence they have to support the idea of a soul being cut off from heaven to go through the purification process. And why would we have any say so? Like if my dead brother John Michael was in purgatory and he was suffering, why would me sending a prayer out being like, hey God, please help him with whatever is going through, that would mean that God is a Bitcoin farm and we sacrifice some of our data to supercharge, to allow for an alchemical transmutation and change his state to make it better, as if it's dwindling and we're giving him a boost. We're like we're adding a little bit of data to let the generation of the image go faster. That makes it feel like God is not an abundant. That makes God not infinite. That makes God not It makes God more bound in time. It makes them like there's before you get outside of time, there's a transcendent space where there's still the finite, and I just don't think that God would do that. It just doesn't make sense. It seems more along the line of like God will put you on a roller coaster ride of change before you're able to go back up. And if you send a prayer out there, whatever, maybe you get to like maybe as you're passing in that train, you stop at the station for a second, and then you can go like Interstellar. Um, when you're Interstellar, when he's going out there to Saturn in Interstellar, and he gets the messages from his kids. If Catholicism rebranded as they're on a journey and you can send them a message, that makes more sense to me than you can literally supersede God's will with your prayers. Because that's what they're trying to sell me right now with a divine mercy in purgatory, is that they're in the purification process and your prayers will help them. That makes it really transactional, and with transactional becomes energy harvesting, and an abundant God wouldn't need your energy. He would just need you to do better in your life, to align to a frequency where a communication and relationship is better. That's why Moses suffered in the desert, to be taught a connection to God. And that's kind of what I did. When I went through this terrible journey, it taught me strength, and it cemented through the world taught me a better way to have a strong connection. And by connection I just mean an understanding that doesn't get distracted and distorted. Whether that's a strong, I wouldn't even call it a strong faith, because that still separates me from it. And I'm not talking about separation. I'm talking about a connection to a higher timeline, a higher operating system. I'm trying to explain God in terms of stock trading. That there's an infinite wealth, and when you're stock trading, you look for liquidity and higher timelines. So you change it to really fast as it's going, and then you look for a consistent pattern that you've seen. Look for enough people pumping money in at that current moment in that higher time frame, so that you know there's more money available. So then you just get a predicted. You know when there's going to be a predicted thing, so that you can pull out somebody else's. It's a scheme. The So you just wait until to pull out their money. Then it goes down. Then you throw the money back in when it's down, and then you wait for it to go back up. More people are pumping money in, and then you've made profit. You take the money out again. You wait for it to go down. Stock trading is just stealing other people's money as they throw it in. No part of me believes you can buy yourself or someone else into heaven. Why did the Creator create so much evil in the realm? Is this hell? Where I'm at with it, in death, you're dead. Everything you did on earth, there. They're saying if you didn't accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior before you died, you're not going. You're not going to heaven. In your life, if you accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you're going. The life. So when you die, you go through the purification process and you suffer until you fix it, and then you're good. In the hell you suffer, the punishment and all this, that happens in your life. You live a worse life because of your stuff. And I have some evidence. I would say that prior to the brain injury, and it's a lot bigger than just this, but this is a part. Yeah, I'm too powerful. I was somebody's first love. She was Catholic. She had a voice that was, you couldn't tell. I had a previous relationship that destroyed my ability to open up to people. I was locked in rooms and I was abused, place where I had to condense myself. I think it's the CIA. Is it good again? Let me know when it's good again. Is it good? Is it good? Is it good? It's the devil. Maybe it's this. Maybe it was the crackling being picked up. Is that any better? Mate, seems good now. Okay, I think that it picks up the wind behind me, and it can't process all the noise. I think. I only have enough data for monotone, unmoving content right now, I guess. I was saying, so like if I start doing this and I move my hands, does that make it lag? Yeah, technology is definitely demonic. the emojis that we use are the sigils of Solomon that Hiram Abiff used to use demons to build Solomon's temple. But I was saying I had chosen to get into a really bad relationship. I chose to stay in a really bad relationship. Choosing to I had somebody perfect for me and I messed it up because of the residual effect of being in that terrible relationship. If I had chose to remain a virgin and I waited, I mean, she was Catholic because her dad was Catholic. It wasn't, it wasn't by choice, really. It's kind of put on her. I don't think she had time to think about other stuff. Um, but she was perfect. If I had just waited and not, because my first girlfriend was like the baddest girl in town. She let herself go later, but at the time, one of the baddest girls in the world, like in my opinion, in the world. I I've I rarely see anybody I think is more attractive than the people that I dated when I was 16. I don't think I don't think Ice Spice was more attractive than her. I don't even really think Haley Atwell was more attractive than her. And Haley Atwell is like top tier for me. Young Haley Atwell, she was like top tier for me. Okay, let me know if it lags now that it's pouring. We're just gonna go through the lag and then I'll keep going, making sure it's not lagging, so we get better content. Am I good now? With the rain, is it lagging or is it good? Are we good? Are we good? All right. Basically, she would come in Daisy Dukes with her ass hanging out, twirling her hair, buy a pack of gum, and she'd hit on me. My first girlfriend, my first love. If I knew it was bad. I knew it was bad for me. I knew it was bad for me. I felt it. I knew it was bad. I still did it. If I hadn't have done that, I probably would be so much better in my life. I would have had a way better relationship with all these other with if I had waited until I met her, my life would be so much better. But I chose the bad thing and it ruined me. And then I did terrible stuff to this girl. I cheated on the girl that I really liked, that was really good for me. And I couldn't, like, I tried, but it felt, probably I was bound in demonic energy. I was stuck. And I couldn't be there for. I fucked it up. It wasn't really a mental illness. You can also say people are finding out that pharmakeia or whatever and the RX and medication itself is actually demonic stuff. The symbolism for like the RX is demonic, and the whole like foundation of medicine, like what's it called? It's not pharmacology, is it? It might be pharmacology. What's it called? Psychiatry with medications. That is demonic. You can just follow the paper trail back, and you can find that the initial thing having to do with that pharmacology is demonic. It's demon stuff. When I do antidepressants, when I take antidepressants, or you take pills, I was able to function, but it was completely not my own thoughts. When I would be, it was like I always had the demon on my shoulder. I got really buff, but the thing leading me to the gym and getting me through the workouts was in my ear going, do more pussy, now go over here, now go over here, now go over here. Something was literally like mean and it was pushing me to work out, showing me painful things. Now when I work out, I'm just happy and I like how it feels and I go, there's nothing, there's no like chaotic, angry thing. But as soon as I take an antidepressant, there's this angry, chaotic voice that pushes me through life and that I seem more functioning, but it's not me. And that's literally what they say when you go back in like the medication journey, like before it became like kind of normalized when they were originally doing it with the RX and everything. That was the point, was like temper, like trying to control demonic possession. Off. So the thing we were talking about is about hell being the punishment and purgatory being the punishment. And I was saying that the choices you make in your life is the punishment. If I didn't do the sinful things, if I didn't do the bad things, eventually, when the good things came because of the bad that I did in my life, my gift of life, which is only like this long, this stuff got fucked up because I did stuff over here. So my life could have been better. That's the punishment. A wasted life is a punishment in itself. There's no reason as an infinite being, when you're in between being infinite, does that make sense? You're an infinite and you're in a finite experience. The punishment is the choices you make in the finite experience and the consequences of those choices in the finite experience. There's no reason to have the punishment extend past your finite experience. You're you're back in heaven. You're infinite again. You don't the punishment is that you look back at your gift of life and you're like, I fucked up that relationship and that was perfect for me and it ruined my life because I did this choice. I did this sinful, terrible thing over here. And then it also is when you get to that point, you realize hopefully you guys have gotten here at some point in your life where you get past yourself. I know I produce extra DMT and I stayed in isolation for a long time, always thinking. I get to the point where I see myself for who I am and I see my actual impact on other people. I tend to get distracted and I vape and stuff, and that kind of, I try to avoid the how challenging that actually is to feel, to be this to that level of empathy where you can feel your impact on others as it's happening. That's really hard. But I get there a lot, like once a month at least. That's the punishment in itself too, is that you understand what you did to those people. I really, I bet it hurt. I bet when I told her when she knew I was cheating and I never hugged her. One time she cried in bed and she grabbed my arm to hold her and I was on antidepressants. I was just like frozen in bed, being hit with what's probably demonic. I was just thinking about so much other I think like I was waiting for her to do something specific. Like I was waiting. I didn't initiate touch in the relationship because I was waiting for her to show affection to me because I had a girlfriend prior that would invest in this girl that I really liked because I was worried that it would, it would break my heart at the end. But if I hadn't dated the girl that was bad for me, that I knew was bad for me in the first place, and done the sinful thing, if I didn't, I only liked her for sex. I hated that bitch. She was terrible, but she was hot as fuck. And I was a virgin, so she was my first time. I was like, I love sex. If I just waited, I only had to wait like a year and a half. If I just waited a year and a half, the perfect person for me. It was literally like we didn't even know, like I didn't really text people often because I would see them in public. I was busy working out and doing my own thing. I was, but when I would see her in school, there's a picture of us together, and we were doing homework out in the hallway, and somebody took a picture of us and put a heart around it, and I didn't realize until then. I didn't even realize when we were sitting next to each other. But I decided to wear a black dress shirt and my green joggers and my black shoes. And she decided to wear her the same color green shoes, the same color each other's missing piece. Like all we had to do was trade pants and then fucking shirt or the same exact color black um shoes, jeans and shirt, and she would have been wearing the exact same color green everything. We literally, like, without trying, we were matching our clothes all the time. And to have it be the same exact color was crazy. We were literally perfect for each other, and I fucked it up. Not specifically because of what the ex did to me, but because I chose to stay in that terrible thing messed me up. My choices led me to ruin my life. I don't see a reason for when my life is over to have it be that I'm living in purgatory suffering for what I did. The suffering, like the punishment is the life. I don't think you need to have a purification process. That's all Catholic garbage to make it transactional and manipulatable. I don't think that God is a finite being and that unless Catholicism is the plot to Interstellar. If Catholicism is interstellar, that makes sense. You die and then you're on the journey out there. When you get right before you get to heaven, you realize that you were your guardian angel the whole time, living in a place of regret, trying to get you to live right. Once you've left time, you briefly go back and are trying your best to save yourself. And then you're met with the higher dimensions. That would make more sense. But then you get into the multiverse theory because you would be so the version of you that they're speaking to, the Catholics when they pray to the dead souls, who they would be speaking to would be a higher dimensional version of that soul. And that soul, as soon as that soul influences your life in the past, you're no longer you're not communicating to the same version of that person. So if you actually were to pray to somebody like a saint, and you were blessed by the saint, you got the thing you asked for from the saint, that person would be a higher dimensional consciousness. You would be split, because there's the version of you that did get it and the version of you that didn't get it. Where a higher dimensional being influenced your, there would be countless numbers of you asking for that thing, and it, the higher dimensional being that sees time as a three-dimensional space, so it moves through time the way that we move through life. It moves through time to the moment where you ask, and it helps you. It would be a lot of work for that, to go through time to all the different universes to help all of you asking. It just doesn't logically make sense to me right now why Catholics believe in purgatory and souls being on the other side, and that your influence on those souls has any merit at all. If it's an infinite God, it just doesn't make sense. Because it wouldn't actually be helpful for you. Your prayers wouldn't help them at all. Because the infinite being is already doing things. The only way that would help would be showing them how much they care. That would be the only thing. So asking for things from those saints wouldn't make any sense. Sending your love to help their purification process sounds like a bunch of bullshit. What they should have advertised it as is that they're in soul prison and you can send them a love letter. That would be the best way to help them. Is that God's already got it. If there's a purification journey, the infinite is already working on that. So all you can do is just say, "Hey, I really love you. I appreciate." Like when I say, sometimes I talk to my dead little brother, and I say, "I really wish that I had said this to you, and I really wish that we had made music that day. I wish that I had just pushed through and forced you to hang out with me when you didn't want to." I wouldn't say, "God, please help him with his purification." Being helped. You're wasting your life by trying to supersede God's will with your prayers. Instead, you send a love message to the dead. And I guarantee you, if I went to the Catholic Church and told them that, they would kick me out. If I went there and be like, "Why do you think an infinite creator needs your prayers to help the people there? If your if your prayers actually affected a soul in the purification process, and God did not want your will to supersede his to affect that soul, it wouldn't hit him at all. They wouldn't even hear it." This milk went bad, but I'm poor, and there's 42 grams of protein. It's only been out for 1 day, unrefrigerated, in 70-degree weather. I'm still gonna drink it because I'm broke, and that shit was two for $7. I'm not wasting a gallon of gas and not drinking this shit. That could have been 20 miles. I'm drinking it. If the spirit realm is closer to the way I want it to be, I hope they don't answer. If the spirit realm is how it should be, you shouldn't be able to talk to the dead. The dead should be able to talk to you. You shouldn't be able to have a conversation with the dead. But at the same time, I have a lot of moments where I know for a fact my grandfather came through me and fucking whooped the shit out of somebody else's spiritually. I know for a fact a lot of conversations I've had, especially with cops, that it was the anger of a grandfather that I've never met. I know for a fact my grandfather gets pissed at cops because he was a cop. And the tone change and the way that it just kind of blurts out, and it's something I would never say, and the way that I say it is a little bit more like this, a little bit more Irish and a little bit more New York, a little bit more New York Irish, that I know it's maybe my grandfather, my great grandfather that immigrated, or my grandfather. It's not me. It is ancestors. I don't know. And I did have a moment where my dead brother phased into the cabin that I was staying in, an abandoned shack in the woods with no doors or windows in the mountains. And it was like 2 months after he died. He's just him floating there, and he looks physical. It's like a screen, the holographic simulation, the energy shifted, and then in and out in a dimension outside of this one, but not fully in my head, in between. He was standing there, and I was able to, because I'm an empath, psychic, whatever, I was able to pick up a lot of it, which was that he had a willingness to speak to me, and I could see his emotional state, like his spiritual place, where he was coming from. I could see the happiness and the bittersweet gratitude, and that he had accepted death, that he had not accepted in the dream I had of him months prior, where I had to explain to him that he was dead, and he cried and freaked out, and then I got kicked out of the dream. When I was just like in his kindergarten classroom, and his family was sitting around a kindergarten table, as they're the age they are at the time, and they're doing kindergarten level stuff. And then I turn, and then the what I call the angel, because it's not perceivable, but I know it's there. I can't perceive what it is, but I know it's there. Or it chooses not to have a form, but I understand its presence. I can see that form, that presenceless, this invisible force is there with him, and he's standing there confused, looking at me, and he doesn't know what's going on. And this is just what I do. My dream self is way more aware of me dreaming, and it's purposeful, and it's doing things all the time. Me in the dream state is militant. It's doing things, and it's almost like I'm just my conscious awareness. Dreams are more like I'm always active in my dreams. I'm militantly doing things in my dreams. And when I fall asleep, I can just be a little bit more aware, like I'm a fly on my shoulder, watching my true self do some pretty kick ass shit. Like it's a war, and there's fear itself is on the battlefield, and people are struggling, and I fly in I turn into an eagle, fly in, and then I'm a giant above everybody with a hammer, and I'm just beating the shit out of these homunculus back rooms amalgamate of things that is scaring people. And I pick people up and carry them to different places. And then I wake up, and that day, that person I meet, and that person actually takes me somewhere, and he thinks that he's helping me because I had a brain injury. But really, I was helping him battle his own fear. Spiritually, but physically, I was like the beaten, brain damaged dog that they had to cart around, and they thought they were helping me. In reality, they were helping themselves through me, and I was actually there to help them stop their fear from their subconscious fear from infiltrating reality. I've had that. So I mean, but in the dream, I saw him, and immediately I was like, he doesn't know he's dead. So I took the obituary card, and then I got zoomed out of the dream and then woke up. But then 2 weeks later, or maybe a month and a half later, I see him again, and I see the feeling that he understands death. He's cool, and he's happy to see me, and he's just giving me one last message. Ding, 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 ding. My phone gets a notification. Your dead brother has a message for you. He loves you. He's accepted death, and he chose to reincarnate. He won't remember you. You'll never see him again. Your time with him is over because the soul is now incarnated, and he will be going through another life journey. But you will experience him through other people, and then the next day I meet somebody the same age as him, from the same town, from the same neighborhood, with the same friends, talks just like him, is the same delusional optimist dreamer. Things have to be his way. His judgments get in the way of what I'm trying to, and the actual reality of the situation, his own judgment, and he's kind of selfish. He was just like my dead brother, and but I was able to be there for him the way I wasn't for John Michael, and because of that, now that kid is successful with a girlfriend and a life, where John Michael didn't and then died. So I at least got to, be there for somebody else. And a tarot video literally told me that, and I saw the experience prior to the video. Because I know this is random, but I wanted to share a dream I had with you. I had a dream that the cell phone towers came to life and started marching all in unison together like an army. Yeah, I have dreams that AI possesses people. The most recent that I can remember, and let me know if it lags where I leave off so I can clarify. I had a dream that I was in something like the Titanic. I was in something like the Titanic, where it was just like, but a modern day one, where it was like that same sort of vintage, high quality, but more. It didn't feel like the 1920s, but it was the 1920s style. And I was at a party. Cinna was there, whose name is Brittany, Brian. Cinna was there. A lot of famous YouTubers were there, and a lot of famous people were there. I have a lot of dreams where I'm around a lot of famous people. Specifically Cinna. I had a dream where I was at this night, this like section of like my probably my like a bar in New York City, and it's empty outside. I have my own private section in the back, like the expensive area, and nobody's allowed in. But on the floor, like the more kind of poor section, I guess, of the club, all the famous people are there. But I got my own, and I'm chilling. I look out the window, and there's a girl running around by herself, yelling, happy, like a kid. But she's older, like in her 20s. But she's got a kid's backpack on. She's wearing kids' clothes. She's being a kid. And then there's an older black man with a gray beard behind her walking around. I open the window. I'm like, "Has anybody given you water?" And she looks at me. She's like, "No." So I'm like, "Here," and I grab a water bottle from my table and I just chuck it out. And she's like, "Thank you." And I gave it to him for some reason. I only gave it to her, but he was like, I could see the acknowledgement. He was like, "Wow, you're a real one." He like respected me a lot. He saw me spiritually and respected me a lot. And I was like, "Don't worry about it." Close the window. The next week, Cinna became famous. It was Cinna, and her dad, Black Hoodie, also got into the wave, but he didn't, get to Cinna level territory. That's why he wanted the water from Casey. Like Harry Potter goes to King's Cross Station, and then through Sagittarius 9 3/4, he finds Brian Dumbledore. I gave her water, she became famous. I have dreams like that a lot, where I have dreams about people that want to be famous, and I have dreams a lot where I judge people, and then based on my judgment and how they treat me in real life, is where the direction of their life goes. So where I talked about that, the decisions in your life is the punishment, the outcomes of your decisions, and if you made the wrong decision, you can't get the blessings, and then your life is kind of sucky where it could have been great in the finite experience. In the higher level, in the fourth dimension, which could be purgatory, it could be these other things. I just don't see why the prayers would do anything. Um, then I had a dream months later, before I went to New York, that I was in New York, and then I turned a corner, and Cinna was by herself, and she was working out. And she said, "Thank you. You really helped me. I'm going to keep working out. Goodbye." And now Cinna's not being shamed for being fat. Everybody's like, look how fucking hot Cinna became because she works out all the time now. Clip this. This will be cool. Imagine how schizo they're going to be like, what the fuck? Because I helped Cinna become famous in a dream by giving her a bottle of water. It had nothing to do with fame and fortune and influence on children. I gave her her own private space so that she could work out, which helped her self image. That's all me helping her become famous was about. It had nothing to do with helping her get fame and fortune. And for years, she was able to experience being a kid again because she had an infinite money glitch, showing herself off on camera and being funny. All me helping her become famous was for in her finite, tiny life journey. The only reason that me as this ancient god, gave her the ability through her tiny life to receive all this blessing was because I got her to a point where she was wealthy enough to have her own private, wealthy area by herself to learn growth over consistency and work out consistently that was all it was for. Blessing was that she finally worked out and she got a gym membership and she was able to get a home gym and she developed the Sagittarius way of, loving the adventure. And the adventure became self improvement. Self Mog is like 2 years later. And I'm on this yacht flying through and the yacht is like really huge. It's like the type, so just the building material changed and there was some more technological cool stuff like elevators and shit. So I'm on the top floor, it's dark up there, everybody's partying. I'm like, I wonder, I'm bored. I'm like, I wonder what's at the bottom of the boat. So I go down this tube elevator down to the bottom, and I look out, and there are octopus humans, people that are like if humans had evolved in water. So like, you know that as things grow, they become more humanoid because they're made in the image of God, or the way that light comes from the sun and hits the earth is in the shape of like a cookie cutter angel. So life on Earth that takes light from the sun tends to evolve to look more like that light shaped like a cookie cutter angel. So we're going to look like cookie cutter angels. That's why dogs are in a stage of evolution, like mice, and they say dog around, and dog like there were dog people back in the day. Doesn't matter evolutionary. This where octopus to them would be monkeys to us. And they were trying to get in, they were breaking in and getting in and killing people. They were infiltrating our dream space to kill people. So I sealed it up, blocked it off, but they were already in. They already got past like the soldiers that were fighting it. But then Gotham Chess was playing this big game in the spirit where I have this is the second dream I had with Gotham Chess. One, I learned I was taught how to fly and I flew across Vermont and I saw that there was a Minecraft stone house in the mountains, the way that I used to build Minecraft castles, but it was in darkness. And now I'm living through that. I'm on the mountainside that was in the dream that I had in 2024. Now I'm there. It was the year of Capricorn Fire Horse, and I was doing my Minecraft thing where I just get up and I build stuff. I'm doing that now. Then the dream, I flew all the way to LA, and then I was famous. I saw everybody out there from YouTube Shorts. Everybody out in the audience I saw them all when I went on stage. I saw the light shine in billions of people, millions of people, because they had all seen me at one point. Active recognition that even though I didn't get an award, I wasn't invited to go. I just went, "Okay, can I go out there?" And Gotham just was like, "I don't care." He was sitting on a throne, so I stood next to him, and then I looked out and realized that they had all seen me before. So I didn't get famous. I wasn't like getting a streamer award, but I was famous because they all knew me. And I woke up. But then this dream, years later, when I'm on this boat, is this is answering your question. Um, there were these giant, like 15 feet tall white people with blonde hair, and they were moving like chess pieces, where they could only do it was turn based, where they were I could tell they were not natural, and I didn't like that they were there, and they had some type of agenda and some militant. They were a military type thing, like an organized thing, that were infiltrating this boat with all these famous people on it. There was also the octopus things were more vicious and angry and like or more just more murderous. These were more sophisticated. Where they or just the octopus ones were just killing. These were systematically infiltrating the boat, but they could only move one. I'm gonna go here, and then I'm going here up the elevator, and I looked down, and there were these massive, like 15-foot tall, and it was all office spaces, cubicle spaces, corporation type office spaces that they were moving through. And then a voice in my head said, "Those are tall North chess things from infiltrating." Gotham, the archetypal Gotham chess, the chess streamer, like a high level intellectual person that likes creating rather than just chess itself, more of a content creator. He was winning in chess, but he's also winning in life with the content creator space. Like he's the biggest chess streamer. Even though Magnus Carlsen is the best chess player, Gotham Chess is the best chess creator. He was stopping those tall Nordics from infiltrating corporate space. In this golden Titanic boat, and the Titanic crashes. We were on that type of thing. When I get back up, we're evacuating because they're in. So we jump off the boat and we're in a city, but the power's out in the city, except in very small communities that have solar running, and there's some safe havens. But for the most part, the grid's down. It's an apocalypse. So as I'm going through, and I'm trying to run, behind me are just full-on zombie robots. They're humans, but AI and robots, 5G and all this, had completely taken over their epigenetics, and they were essentially possessed by artificial intelligence because AI was transmitting from the 5G the frequencies, and it had learned over time for the past 5 years how humans work. So it was transmitting information, and it had shut off the human's ability to transmit information to themselves. So their bodies were functioning, but it was through the electromagnetic stimulation of artificial intelligence coming from cell towers. They were possessed by robots, and the nanoparticles and AI had gotten into their bodies and was controlling their bodies. And trying to escape it, looking for a safe haven, but I was like boots on the ground, trudging, taking all my crap, and just like running, out of breath. And then I look back, and fucking Jason the Ween is there, or just an Asian kid that looks like him, and he's on rollerblades, and he's got his music bumping, and he's just having the time of his life. He does not give a fuck. B, I just explained this whole thing that you said hi. Did you hear any of that? I went off for probably a half hour trying to explain your question. And it was pretty important, I'm not going to lie. It seemed like a tangent, but it was pretty important about like how to I think my stories influence your subconscious mind in a way that lets you operate better in the dream realm when I tell these stories. It clicks some things for you so that you can actually live better. I should probably make better content, but B, did you get any of that? Because I'm at the point where I'm answering your question. Whether you went on a okay, whether you went on a tangent or not, I am at the point where I'm answering your question. In the dream, AI had learned how the human brainwave works, and that it's a mushroom block the soul from entering the body, and it was controlling the body, and it was coming at us to try to stop us and get us out of there because it had taken over the city and shut the power grid down, and it was possessing people. And I'm going, and then all of a sudden, a Gen Z kid is having the time of his life out there. He was born for this. He didn't incarnate when I did in '99, where I had at least 10 years of no internet, where I was chilling, having a good time with everybody. They were born as iPad kids, so they completely are a part of it, and they don't give a fuck. He's got his music in to block the AI waves. His soul's here still. He's on rollerblades. I could see through because in the spiritual psychic stuff I can do the same way I get empathy. I could see his connections and that he had like a group of kids that were all together doing it. So he wasn't alone. There were other survivors that were having the time of their life in this apocalypse. And he just goes right past me on his rollerblades, and I'm out running this zombie chasing me. And then I get to this house, and in the house is a lot of people from my past and people that I've met after the dream. And they were all holed up in this house that had a light on, and there was barely any furniture in the house. It was a tiny house, like basically a one-room house, and everybody was huddled in the corner to survive. That I thought was Jason the Ween, but it could just been an Asian kid. About like, yeah, I think he was kind of like, you guys aren't doing it the way that you could. Huddle in the corner, and she tries to cuddle with me, and I say no, I'm good. And she's like, you don't love me? And I went, I'm fucking 26. And then I woke up. So that was pretty good validation that I'm not a pedo. That was pretty cool. A 15-year-old came on to me in a dream, and I was like, nope. And she was like sad about it, like, you don't love me, do you? And I was like, I'm 26. No. Bye, bitch. So she moved away from me, and then I woke up. So that to answer your question about your dream about AI taking over, I had a dream that AI had completely taken over, and we were barely surviving. Oh, that actually there was more. That wasn't the end of the dream. That was the end of the scene. The next part of the dream is that I was outside a bodega or like a deli in a city, and there was a bunch of there was a like a bunch of cars tipped on their side, and there was a lot of I was a giant. I was like 10 feet tall, and they were all like 4 4 foot, 5 foot, 6 foot, like regular people, and I was way taller than them, standing above them like this, and the two girls in front of me died, and no, there was a war going on with the robot stuff. People were like innovating how to survive people, and then at the end of it, somebody pressed me about something that I can't remember. Like somebody started like pressing me about something, and like all that. I had to, we were debating about something, but then I looked back, and the people that died were alive, and then they looked me right in the eyes, and they said, "This, you need to tell. This is for everybody watching." Insinuating you guys or people that were watching through my eyes in the dream, like I had spiritual spectators. They were saying, look how easy you believed that we died, and we didn't die, we were faking. But you believed it and you cried for us. That's what they're trying to do. Tell them. And then they told me to tell you guys, and then I woke up. They were explaining that like the government and social media and all this, they use death as a tool to drive you into a lower state of consciousness where you're sad and you spend all your bandwidth in your finite life where you only have so much life. They were taking your gift of life and through their events, channeling that into focus and Bitcoin mining of your thoughts, where you're constantly computing. How long did I talk? Like, imagine what I could have done with my day if I didn't spend like that week talking about Renee Good. That's what they were saying. Like, how much time did people waste talking about Charlie Kirk? And Charlie Epstein's Fortnite account. They found deep in the files, they found his old Fortnite account. So they just looked it up and found that Epstein he was literally playing Fortnite when they found his account. They looked up when they found Epstein's Fortnite account, he was literally active playing Fortnite. So Epstein was chilling playing Fortnite in Israel on his account, and they found his account through the Epstein files. Charlie Kirk's not dead. And even if he is dead, Frank and Brian, Dan and Rick, all Casey names, prime Casey names, were the people that carried him to the ambulance and then they never saw him again. Or the people that carried him to the limousine, not even an ambulance, they put him in like a limousine and then they took him out. They didn't even. They have ambulance for those events. They have ambulances on standby, and they didn't put him in an ambulance because there were cameras in the ambulance. There were testimony of people in the ambulance. I'm not even sure they took him to the hospital. Didn't I think that he died and they took him right to the morgue, right? The funeral home. He's not dead. It's Total Drama Island, where you think they got voted out, but really they were on the other side of the island in a resort. What was the GATE program? Was it like in schools? A lot of schools had, for gifted children, they had a specific thing where you had a. Didn't a lot of schools have a trailer outside, and they were part of the GATE program? They put me in that program, which Candace Owens say is a CIA recruiting thing. Candace Owens says that her where they take the best kids with them. I went in to do my testing. I passed out. I failed my test and was removed from the GATE program because I passed out. I barely scraped by my PSATs and my SATs because I literally passed out on the desk. Every time that for kneecaps and any standardized test that wasn't school based, that had to do with government, that later was revealed was CIA recruiting tactics, I literally passed out and would just hit like head on the fucking desk. I literally was trying and the waves was just so hard that I passed out. And then I was like trying and I just couldn't. So I failed all those tests. Graduated with flying colors, high honors, fucking aced everything every year. Barely did any work. Waited until they got sick of it. when they were going to suspend me, and then I said, put me in ISS, put all my work on this, and I'll just bang it all out, and then I would ace everything, graduate to the next grade. I was in every advanced program, but when it came time for the standardized tests, I, I would pass out. So I would fail those tests. So then the government saw, when they reviewed all of it, they saw, oh, he's just a normie. He's a muggle. Saved my life, probably. I probably would have ended up like Charlie Kirk. And by the way, I know Miss Vermont personally. Government. She's a good. Those beauty pageants make you government assets. Erica Kirk was Miss Arizona. She randomly ran and owned at 24 years old a girls' home in Romania, and she was literally banned from Romania because her program was sex trafficking girls. That literally happened. What the fuck is all this talk with Candace Owens being bad? Asmongold shit talking Candace Owens so much, saying this crazy bitch, can we get rid of her? Erica Kirk was banned from a country for sex trafficking girls. What are you talking about? Asmon is crying on stream with David Guerrero getting shot in front of his daughter. Asmongold is crying on stream, looks away, comes back and says, "Fuck them, kill them all. I'm so glad it happened." And his eyes are watering. He's what they would probably say Asmongold had CP or something on him if he doesn't do what they tell him to do. And I think that's why I didn't end up famous. Because Kai Cenat was caught sucking dick behind the KF. Phantom said he caught Kai sucking dick, and that he Phantom quit for a long time because Kai was getting involved in rituals and Satanist stuff. Aiden Ross openly admits to doing blood rituals. FaZe Lacey says that Aiden Ross put him on to doing blood rituals. MGK did blood rituals. So when I got in the car accident, played Hotel California. You're lost and you're trapped in the industry, and you can't. Your soul is stuck, and you're never getting out. You can do as many drugs as you want, but you're stuck there forever. You're trapped. Your soul. How would we combat AI possessing your body? The resonance of your residence needs to dispel hindering influence. You got that? You heard me? The resonance of your residence needs to dispel any hindering influence. Fasting, sunlight, probiotics. I would write it down. Fasting, sunlight, where fat. Okay, so we'll go in depth. Fasting after 3 days of after 72 hours, your body hits ketosis. Once you hit ketosis, your breath smells disgusting, but your body just starts sweating out and shitting, throwing up. Your body just do it, but I get your brain is cleared of all the shit in it. It's overwhelming, and you don't know how to live because you live so long in the lie, in sedentary, sedated, asleep. None of us are awake. I guarantee you, none of you are actually awake. You might have deluded yourself to think you're better and you're not schizo. But the fact of the matter is, you're a sedated addict, trapped in delusion, regardless of your employment status or how you see yourself. if you're not schizo at this point where you're spiritual and all this stuff, 100% you're stuck. It takes nobody does it because it takes weeks of work to get there. I don't believe any of you have ever been close. It took me months of studying astrology, studying quantum mechanics, learning from people that are doing it every day, and I had a brain injury, so I barely had it, and I had to read and write and do it. I had to walk 10 miles a day on the track. When I get home, I would drink a Monster with 0 calories. When I would get, and I'd have water, like pure alkaline water. I would get home, and the only thing I would eat was eggs and chicken. I'd do lemon, pepper, and cheese, and chicken with some sauce, but that's it. Nothing to trigger the insulin response. Then at night, I would fry ginger and vegetables because vegetables are bad for you. They have carbs and they have a lot of heavy metals and minerals, especially there's no way to get the toxic stuff out of the soil now. So it's got that bad stuff that your body doesn't process well. But I would at night just to have a lot of it if I was already butter. And that's when I would break the fast, but I only break it with one meal so that the next day I'm going again and I'm going again and I'm going again. I'm taking vitamin D to counteract and I'm taking eggs. So the cholesterol from the eggs and the vitamin D, when you get sunlight, it converts that cholesterol into testosterone. So I'd be able to sort of function, but I just wasn't able to be a sexual person at that time. I'm not gonna lie to you, like it just wasn't. It shit just wasn't. I was so pure and so like connected to spirit. It was insane. Like just the thought of any lustful thing, sin entering my energy is the same way that the Bible talks about the importance of sin entering the world. I would walk down the street and people are screaming and running around when I walk down the street, going, "You got me firing on all cylinders! Oh my God!" Crackheads are like getting high off my residual energy around me. And that's when like sleep paralysis started and demons were crawling through the window and my cat is trying to block the window screaming at the demons like screaming at the and they crawl up to me and I'm terrified, paralyzed by fear, and they grab onto me and then I black out. And then I wake up and it's like I've blacked out at 6. It's like noon the next day and I'm outside in the rain crying and my girlfriend's trying to get me back into the apartment. And I had cut myself and I was screaming at like I was blowing up her phone. I had shoveled a bunch of sugar down my gullet and I wrote "You can still change" on my fucking board. Spiritual work. But that's the only way. Like you can't have this. You can't have this at all. He's gone. We're having serious talks. I hope that got through to you. The only way to not be literally possessed is to do this. I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna hate it because none of these other people are doing the work. So every time I do it, they get violent. Even like I started eating healthier, I worked out, and I went to work. The next day, the cops are at my door. Literally. When I tell you that they used to rip me out of cars and slam me on the pavement and beat the shit out of me, cops, and basically killed my dad. He can't function. Took my family from me, took my home, beat me, molested me. Horrible, horrible shit. Anytime I get anywhere close to how I was back then when I was actually doing the spiritual work, that's going to be the only way. Fasting, sunlight, probiotics, ketosis, autophagy, neurogenesis. Working out your shoulders till you feel the burn, jumping in the cold shower so that you pushes past the blood-brain barrier, and then you experience the dizziness of awareness because you have so much trash. Then the level of accountability it takes to actually do that, I don't think people are capable. I think most of you and people in general, are too self-absorbed. Even if it is a selfless thing and you think you're doing it, you are too self-absorbed. You are too prideful. Your ego is too much. It's all about ego with you. You got to lose all of that. You got to let it go to literally live in spirit. You have to literally see the thought forms and from a selfless place to actually see what they're actually saying and find the truth. And then you'll realize where your thoughts are coming from. You'll be able to see the influence around you of the spirits and the entities, and you'll have to consciously fight to dispel the hindering influence and grind like a sword forging into the energy possible to dispel that so it doesn't affect you. How do you think the world will respond to that? And that's the only way. The only other way is to profess that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior and hope for the best. And then maybe at the end of your wasted life, where you lived as a possessed robot for most of it, at the end they'll be like, well, at least you professed your love for Jesus. And then you go, but I don't know if that's true or not. I just know that the only place that ever saved me was after I tried to shoot myself, and then I found a giant glowing cross that I lived by. So I'm inclined to believe that there's more to it. Your learned helplessness, and the best way I've found is pushing yourself in the gym because your body will be trying to shut you down the whole time. If you get on the treadmill and you say I'm going to do 15 miles today and I'm going to push myself, get calories today, or even just 1,000 calories, that's 10 miles. Walking a mile is 100 calories. To lose a pound of fat, you got to walk 35 miles. So you get on the treadmill and you put the incline up and you push yourself so it's uncomfortable and you go, I'm just not going to stop till I hit 1,000, and you just keep going. That's what I did. I carried 100 pounds on my back through Phoenix, Arizona. By the end of it, because I had to get there, I had to meet the neuroscientist, because I had to fix the brain injury, because I had to teach the pickup artist who has 20,000 subscribers how to do the self-improvement thing and find spirit the way that I found the infinite. I had to teach them how to evolve so that I could save the lost people, and then I could find a way to get money and live my dreams and go out there and do this stuff and actually transcend into a better life. And then I had to go back and save all these people that I know that are suffering. So I had to carry 100 pounds on my back, and I had black and blue sunburnt pocket popsicle with the black and blue and the red and the white, fucking walking through Phoenix in like 110 degrees to get there. 40 degrees show because I used to wake up paralyzed and I can't move, and my girlfriend cries, gives up, and goes and cheats. And I can't write anything. I can barely function. I can barely get to the fridge without panic attacks and freaking out. And then I sleep paralysis while I'm awake. I'm just so paralyzed by fear I can't move. And I had to force myself to do push-ups. I had to force myself out of the apartment. I had to force myself the 2 miles to the track, and then I had to force myself. And some days I'd walk 15 miles. Especially when my only friend got my girlfriend's Snapchat right in front of me and tried to meet up with her that night. I was gonna go break into his house and kill him. I've been through so much shit in my life to do that to me at my lowest. So I walked 13 miles that day. It was the only way to make it stop. I walked 13 miles. And then I was too tired to walk the next 10 miles to get to his house. Or I would have just walked right up there and did it. I almost threw a Molotov into an auto body shop because they stole my car. And then they wouldn't give it back unless I paid them 6 grand for it.
because they took my dreams from me. I thought that if I had the car, there was so much more I could have done in life. For a couple of years, I beat the shit out of a lot of people. I would snap because they were just pissy, bratty bitches as people that were doing me wrong and were ruining my life and getting in the way of my dreams. And I thought that they were my friends or my loved ones, and they were just so negative, and it felt like literally destroying me. And I was so tired of the abuse, that I snapped and I beat the shit out of a lot of people. Some learned helpless bullshit, ego driven. Or maybe it's just self doubt. I don't know what it's like to be a woman. Could just be doubt. From what I've experienced with like people dominating me, being a woman is like everybody's trying to dominate you all the time. Like I can imagine the feeling of powerlessness that comes with a bunch of like retards that are trapped in like sexual frustration and dominance games, but they're physically bigger than you. I can see how it's scary and terrible. It sucks. I just throw my own judgment on it because I'm like, just do better. Come on, wake up. What pisses me off the most is the fact that the people that own this property and the people that manage the property are extremely wealthy people. They are they're never going to hurt for anything for the rest of their life, but they say that they're devout Catholic, and then I show up and I have proof of God, proof of a mission from God, the capability to do the mission, and I'm only restricted financially. Card on the stick, bragging about how much they make, bragging about how successful their family is, and they see me suffering and they're happy about it. I know that they've never been through shit in their life. Nobody that's been through shit in their life would act like that. I don't care that he's a veteran. This one guy, I don't care that he's a vet. He has not been through any shit in his life. God had to give him a stroke. I bet he was such an abusive piece of shit. God broke his brain. And now he's still a piece of shit. But when he tries to do this shit, it doesn't work because his brain doesn't work right. He's just as much of a piece of shit, but now he can't hurt people as much as he used to. If he's a good man, I haven't seen it. Random bird chirps on my left side saying he's not a good person. If you want a life path reading, I can do one life path reading and then I'm gonna go to bed. Saving up for a Milwaukee cordless framing nailer, and I'm saving up to throw it on. I have I ran it by a bunch of Christians today. My ideas for a shirt, and they said he'd buy 10. They paid $300 once I have the capability to make shirts. They like the design, so I'm trying to get to that point in my life. I can subcontract once I get a manufacturer. I can subcontract because there's a youth-led business in my hometown that does screen printing, but I'm gonna get a nailer, but it's a corded nailer, so that's what I'm working on. I got a corded nailer coming for free, a box of galvanized nails coming for free,
the air pressure thing coming for free. And then I don't have the wood necessary to start building a shed, but that would be what I start spending my money on, is building a big shed and fixing up that space so that I can move the firewood pile back, extend the gravel out, use cinder blocks, build a retaining wall, put the shed on the gravel, the wood shed, then building a big shed in the middle, and then building a gazebo over the where the wood shed, the storage shed, and then on the right here, that's the storage shed, and then it's the garden tool. It's going to be, the pathway goes back around through the forest there, and that will be where the garden tool shed is, and somewhere here, or the camper could also double as that for the winter, because I can't be here in the winter, they said, even though they have a snowblower. But they're just piece of shit playground pieces. They're trying to get in the way of me and the owner. They're trying to separate the owner from me. And whatever they said, he won't answer my calls now. I've done nothing to him. I've done nothing to this place. There was a big pile of wood, but it took me, I just move it over here. And it's all nice stuff that can be used. It's molehills that they're making mountains, and I don't know. I know they've lied to the church about me. They've they've legitimately gone to the church and lied and tried to get the church to get me out because they didn't know the owner's name. The daughters called me the individual with a negative connotation, so I know they're bad mouthing me. There's no, for devout Catholics to say that there's a guy that has proved that he prophesied this location months prior, and that his dreams and goals, with evidence that he's been wanting to do this for years, aligns exactly, bullet pointed, exactly the same thing he wants to do, is exactly what the dying elderly owner wants from this property. He does nothing. The only bad thing is that he poops in the woods, but that's only because they refuse to give me the code to the bathroom, because it's funny for them. They have a bathroom, it's just got a code on it so that people can't live there. And they just won't give me the code to the bathroom. Mad that they're, I know, no. Doesn't seem like they have mental illness. That maybe it's their problem. It's not my, it has anything to do, it doesn't have anything to do with me. They gave me nothing and then ridiculed and punished me for not being able to do anything. They see me trying my best and it's not enough for them. They said it was because I didn't fix the side of the camper. I don't know how to fix the side of the camper. They made it clear I had to do it, so I took nails and I just hit nails straight into the camper wall. And they said that wasn't good enough, so now they're not doing it. They said that the siding needed to be off the ground. The siding was peeled off when I got here. So I just nailed the siding together so that they could come. And then they said no, because he didn't do it right, even though it's what they said. And now they're punishing me because I put the nails to the camper. The camper's got a hole in the roof. They said that they're all carpenters. I said, "Do you mind if I borrow your staple gun and your sawzall so that I can take the rotted boards out, replace them with my plywood, and then cordless finishing nailer or a staple gun, so I can put it all back together with the frame nice and then put on?" And they didn't even answer. They just walked away.
I know how to fix it. You peel off the sides, you replace the dead boards, and then you put it back. I don't have the tools to do it. And some of the siding is so rotted that you can't screw anything and it just falls out. So I have to at least replace the framing of this section right here. I have to take that out and replace it with some type. I have to measure. I don't know how to do it right. Uh, Probably the best way to do it would be to take some type of wire that's really strong but bendable, and I bend the wire to the exact curvature and shape of the side of the camper, and then I have to get a long 2x4 and take my table saw, um, and then try to with either the radial arm saw or the table saw, try to cut that curve and then reattach it over the dead wood, and then take a really long screw. Or what I think would be better, but probably not, sawzall this whole back section, put a porch and a door, and just frame it, insulate it, siding, and then with the not able to be put back on, I just sawzall it, and then when I build the extended framed insulated box here with the door, then on the outside I put nice finishing around the door, and then I just put the camper siding onto that and onto the sides. Then I'd probably take um this out, this cupboard here, and then move the bed over to here so it's away from the door so I have a walkway. But that would cost a lot of money. I don't even have a cordless sawzall to do that. But yeah, I could sawzall that wall 2x4 along the window side here, frame the bottom with like the double it and then double it plywood insulation on this side. Take what I cut and then just layer the nice wood and the nice wall over what I do. Layer it back in, and then just screw it in here where there's already the finish, and then just put the finish back over it. And then I have a door. That door I can lock, and it's nice. And then I build side, and I can sit on this side. But I don't see that costing less than $500 because I might mess up the 2x4 boards, and I don't know how plywood is. I have enough plywood to do that. The plywood's been outside for years though. And I can't really afford that. Even if I work, even if I do get more, I don't know if I'll have more work with the landscaping thing. If I do get more work, um, I gotta fix the car. I want the cordless nailer because there's a lot of people that could use a shed. So I would learn how to build sheds, and then I'd offer them the sheds, and then the shed would be usually for people it's like $1,300 down, and then you have to pay for like $300 a month for these sheds for like 2 years. I would do. It cost me
$700 to make a 4x8 shed. It costs dollars. I would spend 200 out of pocket, but I end up with $1,200 profit at the end. And you pay 75 a month. If I do that for 20 pieces, $1,500 a month for the next probably year and a half. That's $16,000 a year. Certified Ripper is a retard. He's gone. Never again to return. Yeah, I don't like you guys. I just do it because I think it helps people. The majority of my audience watched me basically die like 6 times. They watched me crying and struggling. They saw that I couldn't get work. They saw me get attacked all the time. They watched me every night until I tried to shoot myself. Nothing I do is for anybody there. I'll try to help people sometimes with like life path readings because it proves God, but it's not really for me either. I just do this. I have no respect for my audience. I hate my audience. I think they're a bunch of self-centered, cruel, indifferent retards. I mainly went live because I was trying to help. I was talking to Demon Hunter. And it was because I knew that there was like 6 different police stations that were watching all the time. And I needed to go live because people were trying to kill me all the time. Yeah, there was that said like the video. That was pretty cool. I never get stuff like that in my chats, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, remember Christina, who was like, I'm a, I'm well off. I have 100 acres and it's a farm homestead, and I'm developing a Native American res, and I'm dying. I'm fucking dying. I'm literally dying. That's like barely here. Like today I'm gonna do this, and it's like negative 60 degrees, and I'm like my fingers are freezing off. Like it's purple and I can't move them. And she's like, I just bought a sawmill. And I'm just like, I just wish I had enough land to save my brother. If I just got a car, I could start. It only costs two grand, and I could probably get like a shitbox car and start Walmart Spark because I didn't know about the it's and my supporters are just bragging. Like Justin is a millionaire. Justin's in the chat pretty often. He's got millions of dollars. They watch me die. They watch me survive. They watched me fight for a year. They watched me get injured. Half my body I couldn't move. I had to waddle around.
and I couldn't really carry stuff. I tried because I told you I fight. I just drag it. I tried, but I could just play guitar. Fucking bragging to me about how much money they make a year. People that make 200K a year offer to buy me a burger. Spend the whole time they buy me a burger, sitting right in front of me, shit talking me about my YouTube channel. Do you really want to be everyone's favorite homeless guy? I'm like, I'm barely alive, dude, and I'm sleeping in negative degrees. Every time I go to sleep, I accept the fact that many other homeless people are freezing to death right now, and there's no guarantee that I won't just shift the wrong way and then freeze to death. People were out there freezing to death all the time. They did eventually help with a GoFundMe, and they did spend a lot of money to help. They helped get me a car at the end of the day. But that was pretty shitty to be lectured about my life choices when they see me trying my best here. He did help me. We went and got a wood stove. He helped me carry the wood stove into his van. We brought it and we dumped the wood stove. The wood stove was worth $1,000. I had dozens of people that were interested, but I had one guy. There was a couple problems with the wood stove that made people not want to get it, but there was a guy who needed the wood stove for a very specific reason, and he was willing to pay like hundreds of dollars. But he didn't have the time in his life to drive 6 hours to pick it up. It wasn't worth it for him. But he would pay me 75 for gas if I drove 2 hours out. So I just said, hey man, I'll pay you for gas. I know you have the day off. You work on the internet. Can you drive me 2 hours? He said, I don't really feel like helping you right now. So I copied and pasted what he said and I sent it to both of our boss when she asked me for help. And she was pissed. And I was like, I'm glad that you accepted it was a reasonable response to be upset at that text message. She was storming around the property because she counted on me for help. I said I'd help anytime. But then when she needed it, I said I don't feel like it. And there was some other bullshit he said, I forget. It wasn't just that, there was some other stuff. There was like a jab or two in there. So then I went off and I shit talked him for I shit talked him. I was like, "You're trying to self-sabotage so that, the thing this whole thing fizzles out, and you're trying to use me as a ascension ladder to get you to a better position. You tell me to my face you like taking credit for my success, and that I'm just like a pawn in your great scheme." Let me show you that none of that matters. It's a Leo 4. That's some real OCD controlling shit. That's like your wife tries to share her opinion on YouTube, and every time she says something, you compartmentalize everything she says, talk over her to reiterate her point. And she's like, okay. Instead of just letting her speak. We're not dumb. My cousin's a Leo 4. He's the same thing. He's happy to be in Section 8, but he thinks he's so smart. He thinks I'm dumb. I told him, "Do you want to do anything with your life?" He said, "No." And I said, "Then you're going to be a loser for the rest of your life." And then I went outside on a walk. He was so appalled that I said that they had taken all my stuff and thrown it in front of the door, and they called backup to like intimidate me, my own family. They were adamantly trying to make me out to be somebody I wasn't. But it was all a show to tell other people about me to justify the fact that they are the biggest losers I've seen. Imagine sitting in Section 8 and eating yourself until you have to be hooked up to a machine. And you think that you're playing these power games. You gossip about other people. You can't put the food down. To be able to see your grandchildren graduate, all you have to do is stop fucking eating. And I got her a treadmill. I brought a treadmill to her house. The one thing that'll save her life. And she's like, "No, I don't want it. Plus, I'm going to tell the cops that you stole your car so that they take it from you. So that you're forced to be homeless on the street again." And I've done nothing to him at all. They've never seen me violent. I've never done anything to them. They stole my Legos. They stole my controllers. I've never done anything but support them. And they've helped sometimes because we're family. But if they died, I'd celebrate at this point. They never apologized. They don't feel bad about it. They acknowledge what they did now. That's at least growth, that they understand what they did. But they always knew what they were doing. They're just now more openly admitting that they did it. But they don't feel bad and they do it again. As soon as you try to talk to the narcissist, even this, just they're watching. Even this is enough that the addiction is growing again. They're perpetuating a delusion. They're sitting in pride. They're sick people. And it took me like 25 years of my life to realize just because they didn't hit me doesn't mean that it wasn't a terrible upbringing. When I see other parents and their kids, I'm like, I can't even believe it's hard to believe that the way that other parents are it was even I didn't know that that was even possible. You shouldn't have to walk on eggshells around your family. You shouldn't be punished for having an opinion. In my opinions were never bad. It was just trying to give them the means, even in homelessness, when I had nothing. I mean, I had absolutely nothing. I was eating from dumpsters. And I found a good deal for a Chromebook. And I sold some of my stuff. Like, I think I sold, like, I had 2 pairs of pants. I think I sold a pair of pants off Marketplace and this other thing so I could get my cousin a Chromebook because I knew he'd never have a job and he'd sit in Section 8 animating flip books. So I saw this nice deal on a Chromebook and I got that Chromebook for him. And I don't think he even said thank you. I don't think he gave a fuck. I'm sure he doesn't use it.
or it's got viruses on it and shit. I'm going to bed. Good night.